Hi everyone, Chaz916 here. Welcome to my channel. Okay, so today let's take a look at the new 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide. Comments, questions, and suggestions are welcome. Please put them in the comment section below the video. Okay, so just to let you know, and this is from my reaction video, so just take it for what it's worth. Now, before we get started on it, I am putting up a companion video that I uploaded back in 2023 on my other channel. This video is from the 1D&D playtest. It's about bastions, which are mentioned in the DMG clip that you're about to look at. So if you're interested, you can go there. I mean, if you didn't participate in the playtest and you're curious what it was about, this is the video I put up in October of 2023 where I talk about it. Okay, so let's get started.
Not only is the new player's handbook available for pre-order right now on D&D Beyond, you can find that link in the video description, but also the new core rulebooks, both digital and physical, are available for pre-order as a bundle that includes the new Dungeon Master's Guide, the new Monster Manual, and the new player's handbook. Can you tell me a little bit more about what's new in the Dungeon Master's Guide?
First and foremost, the Dungeon Master's Guide is bigger. Like all of the revised 5th edition books, we have added pages.
Okay, so it looks like they're going to get into things other than just the player's handbook. I'm really looking forward to this. Okay, so let's see what they got coming.
To the book. Things that were not in the 2014 book that are in this book include 5 short sample adventures, a complete campaign setting, a lore glossary, and another totally new feature of this book is the Bastions chapter. That's all new content that we wanted to get into this book, and that's why the book is one of the reasons why the book is bigger.
Why is it so chunky?
It's a chunky book. Yes, exactly. So one of the chapters of the book is called Creating Adventures, and it's all about helping the DM create adventures. There are tips and tricks that we can give you to help you do that. But all the advice aside, nothing compares to being able to see the advice being implemented. So after giving you a bunch of advice on how you can create your own adventure content for your home groups, we present 5 short adventures in a format that we think DMs will want to emulate and use for their own prep, accompanied by the maps that are in one of the appendices of the book. These adventures are meant to show you how you can create your own adventure content in a way that will be very easy for you to run at the table.
Perfect.
The campaign setting. Yes. When you are ready to build a campaign, this chapter does, I think, a very good job, a much better job of showing you what a campaign looks like by giving you an example of one, which no previous Dungeon Master's Guide has ever tried to do. And we thought the best campaign setting for this book is the Greyhawk setting. What we do is we give you a poster map in the book that has the world of Greyhawk wilderness on one side and the city of Greyhawk on the other, because we use the city of Greyhawk as a sample of what a campaign hub can be. A campaign hub is sort of where the campaign starts. It's kind of its center, its core. And then we go out beyond that. We go into the regions around the city and we describe what are some of the nearby areas of interest. Because in a campaign, as soon as you strike out from the hub, you need places to go. Dungeons in the hills, or, threats in the forest, that kind of thing. We flesh that out, and then we go even broader and show you the rest of the land known as Eastern Auric, or the Flaneus, this vast region around the city of Greyhawk. We flesh out all of those domains to the extent that we believe DMs need to get sort of a lay of the land, but at the same time saying, hey DM, now that we've given you this, make it your own.
Yeah.
Put your dungeon here if you want to. Add a town here if you want to. That kind of thing. It's very much built on the idea of we're giving you a sandbox.
Yeah.
We're throwing some toys in, and we're saying go play.
Yeah. Greyhawk is yours now.
It is, yes. That's a great way to say it. Greyhawk is yours. The next element I want to talk about is the lore glossary. The lore glossary is an alphabetical listing of some of the most famous places, figures, and materials that are so iconic to D&D that we want them to be shared knowledge among all D&D players of all ages. What is mithril in D&D? What is adamantine in D&D? That kind of
perfect.
thing. The lore glossary captures a lot of that lore that many of us old-timers have embedded in our heads, but a lot of D&D players don't.
Yeah.
And so this is just an easy, quick reference guide for people.
Okay, now that really sounds good. I like that. Because there is so much lore in the game. And I like that they're putting Greyhawk in. I don't know if they're actually going to give it to us. What I mean by that is it going to be part of an SRD so that we can actually use it? Or is this just something that they're saying? I don't know, but they're using it to help fill out examples, and I like that because, well, every world builder out there knows we need all the help we can get to make our worlds as interesting as we want them to be, as interesting as we see them in our imaginations. Okay.
People who are looking for information about this mysterious thing they just stumbled upon. So the fourth wholly new thing in the Dungeon Master's Guide that I haven't talked about yet is the Bastions chapter.
I'm very, very excited for this.
So Bastions is, while the word is new to our lexicon in D&D, it's built on a very old concept because even going all the way back to the earliest editions of D&D, there were rules for building strongholds.
Yeah.
Often you didn't get access to them, though, until you were much higher level. We have designed the Bastion system in the Dungeon Master's Guide so that characters can start building their bastions at level 5.
Wow.
These continue to grow over the life of your adventuring career, but the magnificent thing about them is...
Hey, just to give you guys kind of a historical kind of thing, this all started in a chainmail. It was a miniatures game. And, well, there was a couple of things that they still kind of lean on doing that were part of that. And one was that basically magic users are your artillery and your fighters are your infantry, that kind of thing. And one of the things that they did was they put together some rules for building ports and things like that. And they were included even back then, which is what they're talking about moving into the new system. But it helps if you understand that people who were playing chainmail used those rules to actually create armies and things like that. It was an interesting idea. I'm not really in favor of keeping a lot of stuff from that era because I hate the idea that magic users are infantry and that just, I mean, you've got magic users for artillery, you've got magic users, and then you've got regular people, other classes, the fighters who are, frontline. I hated that. It's still playing a part in D&D, and that is the one thing I would really like to see them move away from. Let's stop thinking that way. I want them to stop thinking that way. I know I can't make them do that, but that's kind of the way I feel about it, because there's always going to be a disparity with fighters and mages because of that, and there shouldn't be. A skilled martial artist should be able to do just as much damage as a mage. At least in my design thoughts or in my perfect world, if you will. Anyway.
you basically run them as kind of like a separate little activity. It does not stop you from being an adventurer.
Yeah.
Your adventurer can go around saving the multiverse, run off to the Nine Hells or run off to the Feywild, do what you have to do.
Oh, I forgot. Before I watch any more of this, there was something I wanted to mention about bastions because I think a lot of people overlook this, and that is that the way they are making bastions, once they're set up, they kind of run their own thing. There's a bunch of NPCs associated with it. Those guys are all interacting while the players are out doing things. Now, the good thing is that the GM can use that because those bastions are now a part of the world. As a GM, they are a part of my world. The things that happen there are going to also affect my world. And I can use that. I can make that a part of the story. I can use that and make it interesting. And I like that aspect. And that's why I like that they kind of made them an autonomous thing. That once they're in the game, they kind of develop a little bit of a life of their own, even when the players aren't there. And that means that they add more life to my world. And I like anything that does that.
Once your bastion is up and running, it is kind of a self-sustaining unit. And it's the players who run the bastions. So every player is in charge of their own bastion and their own bastion's maintenance. And there are this mechanism called the bastion turn, which activates whenever the DM basically says, okay, your bastion, now take a bastion turn. You don't even have to be home for your bastion, for something to be happening in your bastion. But also, a bastion is like a mini game, a mini campaign that the player is controlling. The players are essentially DMing their own microcosms within the larger campaign, giving identities to their hirelings in the bastions, triggering events that happen in the bastions and seeing the results and consequences of those events. That's a very DM side of things. So I love the idea that the bastions are in the Dungeon Master's Guide because, in effect, it's allowing the players to get a taste of what DMing is like.
Yeah, it's very sneaky.
Yes, and it's a wonderful out-of-game activity.
Yeah. Oh, it's a great mini game.
Yeah.
Just a
when you're if the session has to be canceled or whatever, and you can't play tonight or whatever, that's okay. Your DM can just say, "Everybody, take a bastion turn."
Yeah. Send the message.
And then off the players go, and they just let the DMs know what their bastions did on that particular turn. It's a fabulous sort of game within a game.
And then we have just a massive treasury. I mean, treasure section.
Yes. So as in 2014, the biggest chapter in the Dungeon Master's Guide is the treasure chapter.
Loot.
Yes.
Oh, yes. That appeals to both my sides, the player and the DM. Yes.
Every magic item is you've got a little hairy eyeball. We took a look at it. We made some refinements to it. We stuffed even more magic items into the chapter to address certain holes or gaps that we'd identified. For instance, in the 2014 DMG, there weren't a lot of common magic items, so we imported a few. We also saw opportunity to squeeze in some, shall we say, nostalgic delights. In celebration of 50th anniversary, including things like magic items used by the kids in the D&D cartoon.
Perfect. Yeah.
We've also taken another crack at the crafting magic items rules. How do you, a player, how do you, a character, craft an item of your own, with your DM's consent, of course.
And is the crafting system also in the player's handbook, or is it only the DMG?
That is a great question.
That was one of my questions, because they were mentioned when you guys were talking about the player's handbook. But really, it seems like they should be in the DMG, but okay.
So the answer is yes. There is crafting magic items in the player's handbook, but it's limited to some very simple potions and scrolls.
Okay.
So you can create
Okay, that sounds like a good idea. Okay, I can see where you would just limit it to
a
that.
low-level spell scroll, or you can create a potion of healing or some other low-level potion. The rules in the Dungeon Master's Guide are broader and encompass more variety.
Perfect.
We have a whole chapter on the cosmology of D&D, which talks about the worlds of D&D and the planes of existence that are out there waiting to be explored. We tried to make them more beautiful this time around. We tried to give you even more useful information as a dungeon master about some of these places, and while still making it clear that, hey, you're the DM. What you show of the multiverse is entirely up to you.
Perfect.
We haven't talked a lot about the tracking sheets.
Yeah, tell me about the tracking sheets.
So one of the fun new features that's sprinkled through the 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide, like candy, are these delightfully charming tracking sheets that not only do we put in the books as kind of like a show and tell to show you what we mean, but also we're going to make them downloadable off of our website so that you can just print them out and put them in whatever you use for your campaign journal. And these sheets are designed to help you keep track of important information in your game or in your campaign. There is for instance, if you want to create a new NPC, there is a sheet that we give you that you can use and write on to capture important information about that NPC, and it's presented in a very clean, elegant way. There is a sheet that you can use to build settlements like towns and villages. There's a sheet players can use to keep track of important information about their bastions. There is a sheet you can use as a DM to keep track of the magic items that you've dispensed to the party in the course of the campaign, to keep track of important character information so that you have some information about the characters in the party readily accessible to you as a DM behind your screen. And then I think most importantly, or the sheet that I find most useful, is the session planner sheet, where you know you've got a game session next week. You can write down the key beats of what you think is going to happen, key characters, make notes and other things. These sheets are beautiful. I think they're compelling. I think a lot of DMs will want to use them or want to create versions of them.
Well, you got that part right. I mean, I kind of do this stuff already, but I wouldn't mind checking out those sheets and adding, seeing what I can do with them. Yeah, good stuff.
They have charming little illustrations of monsters on them, which I think are absolutely delightful. Now, I haven't talked about the first 3 chapters of the book, Todd.
That's my fault. I am a terrible interviewer. Well, tell me about
Yes, Todd, you are.
Tell me about the first few chapters of the book.
Chapters 1, 2, and 3 are super important.
Okay.
And we put them at the front of the book because they're super important.
That's a good structure.
Chapter 1 is called The Basics.
Okay.
It is a short chapter, primarily aimed at DM curious folks who haven't DM'd or haven't DM'd much and are curious to really kind of dive in and sink their teeth into the DM role. And then when we quickly segue out of there into chapter 2, which is called Running the Game. And it is literally that. It includes a sample walkthrough of play. There are similar things in the player's handbook, but this one is more aimed at the dungeon master. When we get to chapter 3 is a weirdo. There's a bunch of topics that have to be covered that are very situational. Traps, how poisons work, siege engines, information about NPC building, a bunch of these miscellaneous topics that the 2014 DMG covered, but they were sort of scattered
Right.
everywhere throughout
These
the
are the
book.
building blocks.
Yes, that's a
Yeah.
good way to look at it. Building blocks. We call chapter 3 the DM toolbox because it's just this cyclopedia of miscellaneous parts, toys that can come up in play, and we organized it alphabetically by topic.
Not toys, tools. Toolbox.
So it is this alphabetically topical listing of different things. You need more information about curses and how curses work. There's a section on curses. You need more information about hazards like green slime, yellow mold, brown mold, fireball fungus.
No.
Yes. That's all in the hazards section.
Everything feels like a new, fresh experience, and like you said, a better experience for existing players who have been playing D&D. But this also feels like the best time to learn D&D now.
It is taking the...
It's sounding a lot like the D&D I would have liked to have had from the beginning. But yeah, what I like is Evolve tonight. The game is definitely keeping pace. I like it.
The wonderful bits of the 2014 Dungeon Master's Guide and resorting them and blending them in a way with new stuff that does, in fact, turn it into a new book.